I don't have too much shit left in this video, so I gotta have enough left for my reading tonight, so I'm just gonna read the story. It's short, sweet, and it's, let me just try to get this damn reading so that you just don't have to look down at my goddamn double chin. I hate that double chin. Okay, I'm gonna read the story, and it's called Squarehead. I don't think I'm gonna be able to pull this off. The other day, as I came out of the shopping center near my house, I saw something strange. There was this guy. It was hard to tell how old he was, sitting on the curb talking to himself. For some reason, the guy had a stack of blankets balanced on his head. Behind him, a group of kids were standing around laughing at him, pointing at him. Either the guy didn't notice, or else he didn't care. Anyway, right then, for the first time in years, I thought about Squarehead. Squarehead used to live in my neighborhood when I was a kid. They said his real name was Wahi Troger, though I never knew if that was true or not. The reason we called him Squarehead was because his head was way too big for his body. Something was wrong with him, though we didn't know exactly what it was. Some people said Squarehead lived in a house with his mother, and others said he lived alone. As for his age, you couldn't tell that either. He could have been 30, or he could have been 50, probably 50 at the most. Anyhow, Squarehead was always just kind of around. Sometimes we'd go out for recess, and he'd be hanging around the schoolyard, just sort of watching us. At other times, we'd see him walking along the street carrying a shopping bag. He always had that shopping bag with him wherever he went. Nobody knew what was in it, and nobody ever asked. I don't think that this page is really going to work, but I'll keep going. What it was, I guess, was that we were afraid of Squarehead, though we never admitted it. When kids get afraid, they get nasty, and we were no different. Sometimes Squarehead would be walking down the street, and a bunch of us would walk behind him saying, "Hey, Squarehead, hey, Squarehead." Sometimes we'd bounce big stones off his back. Well, actually, I didn't do it, but I watched while the other kids did it. In truth, I was sort of a coward. Kids are mean. They really are. Sometimes they get okay later in life, but mostly they don't. They just grow up to be very crummy people. I don't know. In some funny way, I remember thinking that Squarehead might have it better than the rest of us. He seemed happy just being by himself. Him and his bag. I guess maybe I was wrong, though. One day, a bunch of us went to the movies. It was Saturday afternoon matinee. I remember The Creature from the Black Lagoon was playing. It was in 3D. When we got there, to our amazement, there was Squarehead sitting out front on a bicycle. I remember it was a girl's bike, which made him look even sillier than usual. Just as we were going into the theater, Squarehead wheeled over and said, "Hey, can I go to the movies with you guys?" We were kind of shocked because it was the first time he'd ever talked to any of us. He'd been planning to do it too, you could tell. At first, nobody said anything. Then this one guy, John Borgenstein, looked at him and said, "Beat it, you stupid freak." John Borgenstein was one of those guys I was telling you about that no doubt grew up to be a very crummy person. Though he was my best friend, except for the time he threw up on all over my floor while watching Howdy Doody, I really never liked him very much. Another time, he took a shit in this guy's car and he tried to blame it on me, but he actually got busted for it. Anyway, excuse me, we went into the movie theater and we let Squarehead out there. It made me feel real funny for some reason. I kept trying to watch the picture, but I couldn't stop thinking about Squarehead out there all alone on that terrible bicycle of his. It was just awful. I felt like I wanted to go out and talk to him, but maybe tell him that John Borgenstein didn't really mean what he'd said or something. So finally I got up and went to the lobby. I pretended like I was going up to buy some popcorn. I walked out front and I looked around for Squarehead. I was hoping he might still be hanging around, but he wasn't there. I looked out at the streets. They looked so empty and sad. I was feeling very peculiar, to tell you the truth. So I stuck around for a while, and then I went back into the movie. When I got inside, I sat down next to Jeannie Rackle. Had this big crush on her. During the second picture, I tried to grab her tit, but she wouldn't let me. Girls. Well, you know what? That's the end of the story. No big climactic finale or anything. Oh yeah, a couple of weeks later, John Borgensen's father died. When I went over to his house, he was sitting underneath his piano, crying. Even though I didn't much like John Borgensen, I did feel sorry for him. It's no fun being a 10-year-old kid and not having a dad. The next month, we moved away from the neighborhood. It was the last time I'd ever see John Borgensen or Jeannie Rackle or Squarehead or any of the rest of the kids ever again. The end.